All right, so the third categorization theory, cri- contextual categorization theory. Um, let's just remember the short-term goal. How do people actually categorize objects? This is lifted from a few people: Mary Hess, Barry Barnes, all of which came to me through Steve Klayman. None of whom is responsible for the horror that I'm about to put onto these ideas. So let's start off with a problem that kids have, which is, adults seem to be magic. They seem to know everything. My youngest is 6 right now, and she's pretty sure that she's starting to know everything. But maybe 2 years ago, I knew everything, at least for her. I can remember being just sort of pulled around by the hand, all of a sudden the car would stop when my mom was driving, and I didn't necessarily know why we were stopping or where we were going. I would get out, she'd take my hand, we'd go into a grocery store. I didn't know what we were there to get. We'd walk down an aisle that she had picked. She'd stop. I didn't really know why. I'm looking around. I would see something. I'd say, ooh, I want that. And next thing I know, yank, I'm going the other direction. I still don't know why. For so much of the world of a child, you don't know what's going on, why it's going on. You're just trying to figure out when to stop, when to go, what you can say. Sometimes you say something and you get yelled at. You don't know exactly what you said, this sort of thing. The job of the child is to become competent, to figure out what's going on. And you just want to know, how everybody seems to know everything. You have to get to know everything. How do you go about that? So start with 2 parts of the theory: a teacher and a learner. For me, it's easy to think about it as a child and an adult, but whatever works for you is fine. So the learner has to figure out what's going on. So let's take a situation with gender. Yeah. You have to identify males and females. So I guess it's actually biological sex. How does the child do this exactly? Let's get 2 ways of learning. The first is ostension. ostention. Ostension. It is to point and name. So it's, and this doesn't go with biological sex, but it's like, duck, orange. You're just sort of pointing at things and saying what they are. That's ostension, to point and name. For the theory that we're in, this is the only way to come up with new concepts, to have new concepts introduced into the learner. They're just pointed at and named. So part of what goes on is my daughter, at least, makes pronoun mistakes, or she used to make pronoun mistakes. For a while, she would call everybody a he. And so, we would sort of correct her and say she and these sorts of things. And then she would say she. But that's not exactly giving somebody a definition. That's just correcting them and not really telling them where the mistake came from. So she'll accept that she's wrong and that we're right, but we still haven't told her how to go about the work of figuring out who's a male and who's a female. What contextual categorization theory suggests is that we start off by a process of generalization and probability. Generalization is sort of the other way to learn. That is, take generalization to be the coincidence of categories. So that if you have one, what are the chances you have another? So if you start off and you point out one person and you say, this is a woman, and the kid already knows blue jeans, tennis shoes, long hair, sunglasses, and they see those things on the object that you said is female, they'll use what's known and use that to say, okay, when I see these things, most likely I have a female. Because here's what you don't do. You don't start telling kids about genitalia. You don't say, well, women have larger breasts and things like this. Because they'll totally announce it. I can still see my daughter. I'm holding her. We're in a grocery store. She's like, ooh, that lady's old. Now the thing is, yeah, she was a fossil, no doubt about it. But you can't have them say that. If I say, well, women have larger breasts, it's going to be like, hey, look, breast. I mean, they're just going to, so it's not like you're going to have a conversation with a 4-year-old where you explain, well, there's vaginas and chromosomes. No way. All right, so it's just, they have to figure it out. Nobody gives them a definition. And in fact, the biggest knock on criteria or attribute theory is that no one gives you any definitions. I mean, throughout your whole life, who gave you definitions? There's a running joke about kids asking why and parents not answering because the parents don't know the definitions. You want to go through the words now, right? I mean, you just want to open a dictionary up, hit a word, see if you can define it. About. Can you define that? About. And thus. Beautiful. Large. Any of them, right? They're all massively difficult, but in the situation, you know how to recognize it. It's the old canard from the Supreme Court about pornography. I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it. There's a lot of things you can't define. Try a good kiss. How do you go about doing a good kiss? How do you figure out well, I can't tell you. I don't know. I remember getting my initial instructions from a guy named George, a little thug back where I grew up from. I found out I was gonna kiss Felicia Pavon. Oh God, 5th, 6th grade or something like that. You find out at lunchtime that you're gonna kiss her after school. Only I didn't know how to kiss because I'd never kissed anybody. But George, who had low moral fiber, I could ask him and he would tell me. What he says is, open your mouth up like real big, like this, and then stick your tongue out and then go in a counterclockwise direction. I was like, okay, cool. So, it's 3:00, everybody's standing around and they all know we're going to kiss or whatever. So I go up to her and I just want to be prepared. So I'm like 4 feet away from her and I'm like, just scaring. Okay. So it's really, how do you tell somebody how to do it? Here's how to kiss. And what would your set of instructions look like if you had to tell them? Even things you know how to do. I grew up in Oklahoma. You have to be able to drive on ice. How do you tell somebody how to drive on ice? I mean, you have to feel the momentum of the car in your butt as you're driving, and you work against your butt's momentum. Nothing. Now you could do it, right? Because there's a great set of instructions. How many things in your life do you know how to do that you can never tell somebody how to do? How do you console a friend? How do you talk to people? How do you tell a joke? What's enough laughter in the situation? None of these things get defined for you. Then how do you figure them out with no definitions? All right. Obviously, there's more.